tonight. But most of all, I'd like to thank you, the voter of Thousand Oaks, to take your time out of your day and come down to listen to us. I sincerely hope that you'll listen to all the remarks of the candidates and based on what you hear, make a balanced and informed decision. I can talk about crime, I can talk about ridge lines and keeping our semi-rural feeling. All 16 of us are concerned about that, but the issues that we've been talking about behind the scenes have really been Alois Zena and how she's been trying to find a way to circumvent and dominate politics in this city. No city council person has ever tried to form a political machine before, and what is Ms. Zena trying to do? Zena always supports unknowns, and if elected, they're beholden to her. An example is Councilwoman Zukowski. If she doesn't work with city staff, and she has not supported her own current commissioner and a past one too, I've come to conclusions that Alois burns her bridges. I've grown up in this town, and I want to come back to kindness, and for the people to resolve issues peacefully. I miss the days that when that happened. I've learned that negativity doesn't work, and let's get back to what really works. Ladies and gentlemen, it's up to you to choose 3 people, 3 independent thinkers that can work with city staff and each other and the community. The anger and hostility of the past hasn't worked, and the people who have promoted it have failed to get their agenda accomplished. It's time to change our approach. Let's get back to the kindness. If there are candidates who thrive on innuendo and fear, don't check their boxes. Check the boxes of people who will listen to everyone, work together, and make a difference. I'm listening, and I want to make a difference.
Thank you. Mike Markey.
Thank you. My name is Mike Markey, and I'm a police detective. I have 17 years of law enforcement and municipal government experience. My wife and I live in Newbury Park with our 3 sons. And my background, just to tip on a little bit, I attended Pepperdine University and studied public administration. I've sat on general plan committees, traffic committees. I'm presently on the Thousand Oaks Social Services Committee, and I've worked on Conejo Valley Days. Why am I running for this position? Well, I'm a public servant. I moved to this community in '88, and I ran for school board as soon as I got here. And my kids weren't in the school district, but coming from an LA County agency, I saw some of the problems that are going to come to this community. I also ran for city council in 1990 because I saw some issues that were coming up here, some of that crime. And you're going to hear a lot of candidates speak about those issues. What we need to find, though, when you ask me questions, the other candidates, is what are your resolutions to these issues? Because that's what we need. And that's why I'm running. With my occupation, that's part of my job, is to take an issue, find a resolution, listen to both sides, and make an informed decision. I have to do that because I put some people in jail sometimes, so I have to make the right decisions. That's imperative on the council, though, because you have to listen to all the facts. We also have to understand that Thousand Oaks is basically a non-tax city. And what do I mean by that? Well, I work in the city of Compton, which is the highest tax city in the state of California. Lighting assessment, utility taxes. 40% of our budget is increment tax dollar, and we need to learn how to recycle our tax dollars by taking our government dollars, recycling them back into the community, and then spending them back into our government. And that will keep our jobs going, our tax dollars going, and keep this a very viable city. I moved here because of the way Thousand Oaks is. I'm a person who wants to maintain it. I see that for the next 5 to 10 years, and I hope you'll support me, and thank you for being here.
Greg Cole.
Good evening. I'm Greg Cole, and I'm running for Thousand Oaks City Council. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the League of Women Voters and the Conejo Valley Chamber of Commerce for sponsoring this forum this evening, and to thank all of you in the audience, both on TV and here in the Forum Theater, for coming out for a better Thousand Oaks. Thousand Oaks is truly a wonderful place to live. That's why my wife Alice and I moved here over 15 years ago. Through those years, Alice and I were blessed with 4 lovely children, Anna, 15, Allison, 13, who is in the forum this evening with my wife, Ashley, who is 10, and my son Greg, who is 8 and is almost 9. And I'd be remiss to say he's a terrific safety and running back in flag football this year. I've been very fortunate in this community to build a successful dental practice in Newbury Park, while my wife Alice touches the lives of our youth by being a Conejo Valley Unified School teacher at Manzanita School in Newbury Park. Now I want to do more, and that's why I'm running for the Thousand Oaks City Council. For the last 5 years, I've dedicated my life by being your elected representative to the Ventura County Community College District Board of Trustees. And through volunteerism, I have volunteered my time with many other civic organizations, including the Thousand Oaks Kiwanis Club, the Conejo Valley YMCA, the Conejo Valley Little League, in which my team this last year was 19-1, and St. Pascal's Church. With regards to politics and government, I have served on 7 different City of Thousand Oaks committees, including Traffic and the General Plan Review Committee. And I was appointed by the former mayor of Thousand Oaks, Larry Horner, to the City of Thousand Oaks Planning Commission, where I served for 3 years. I was the chairman of the Planning Commission of the City of Thousand Oaks in 1989. Now I wish to continue my service to the City of Thousand Oaks. I want to bring about positive results for our city, and I'd be very honored to have your support and your vote this November. Thank you.
Candidate Ali Asari was not able to be here, so he is not here to give any of his position. I'd like to mention that the next thing that's going to happen is we prepared questions which were mailed out to the candidates ahead of time. They drew a question, and they will now each have 1.5 minutes to answer the question which they drew. We will again do this in the beginning order, starting with Lee Laxdal, and I'll read your question so it doesn't take up part of your 1.5 minutes. List the 3 issues in order of importance which compel you to run for the City Council.
Thank you. Well, it's clear that I didn't plan to do this. In fact, in January, I threw out 300 buttons that said, vote for Lee Laxdal. My committee often reminds me of that. The 3 things that ultimately made me do it were the council division. I couldn't watch the meetings without pacing the room, and my wife soon didn't want me doing that. Crime and the development. It looked to me like we were not taking the proper steps to cap the city off in the way that we ought to. We were getting more lenient, perhaps, than... In the area of crime, it's a tricky issue. Your first impulse is to answer it by just throwing police at it. And then you begin to think you need to do more than that, and you start to bring volunteers in, and that helps. But I've got my proposal to bring together the school district, the park district, the city, volunteers, representatives of sports organizations, into a joint powers authority, where we can actually have a board you can come up to like the city council, where they all have to be there. Well, let us work on this problem. This city should not, will not, and cannot, if I'm around, settle for gangs being in the city. We need to get the schools to work with us on a board like this on the problem, and then we can solve it. But we all have to be together on this one. We currently own the streets. We need to continue to use the streets, but we've got to be together. We've got to be together. Thank you.
The question for Judy Lazar: what county-wide issues impact the City of Thousand Oaks, and how will you deal with them?
There are several issues that impact the city and the county. As an Air Pollution Control Board member, I have supported VCITA's alternative to the EPA's federal implementation plan. Lots of words, lots of letters, but a real disaster looming for the business. In this case, VCITA, local businesses, county-wide businesses have worked together to develop an alternative which can meet air quality standards and still preserve and protect businesses in our city and in the county. There are other issues that are coming up that we will have to watch very carefully. The potential base closures could have a disastrous impact on the county, but also on the City of Thousand Oaks as well. There's the potential for a commercial airport. Is it viable? Is it reasonable? And how will it impact us in the City of Thousand Oaks? We've got to be vigilant. Ventura County Economic Vitality Commission, on which I sit, is currently considering a number of proposals for an economic alliance. But the major issue of concern for both the city and the county will be the potential for further pickpocketing by Sacramento. Face it, it's coming. For the past 4 years, the legislature has tried to balance the state budget on the backs of cities and counties, and particularly those cities and counties that are relatively well off because they're run efficiently. We're one of them. We must be vigilant, and we must be careful. I've done it before. I'll do it again.
Next for Loisina. Did you get question number 3? Okay. What unique qualifications do you feel that you have that would make you an effective council member?
How often can an incumbent say, when their term expires, that they did exactly what they promised to do when elected? I think this qualifies as a unique qualification. I have extensive professional, government, and business experience, a 20-year career before moving to the city of Thousand Oaks. My work at high levels of government and business has given me insight into how and why decisions are made, and how it is so easy for regulators to become co-opted. This experience has helped me remain objective and independent. I am at no risk of being co-opted. Another qualification is that I was a citizen advocate for many years before joining the City Council. I have experienced firsthand the problems of citizens trying to deal with their government. Another unique qualification is my research and analytical skills. These have helped me bring about creative solutions to problems. Without these, many of my initiatives, such as the overcrowding ordinance to protect single-family neighborhoods, the business roundtable to give small business a real voice in City Hall, and the crime symposium, which developed an action plan to combat crime, teen violence, and gangs, would have not been successful. Thank you.
Next, Ekbal Kidway also selected the same question. What unique qualifications do you feel that you have that would make you an effective council member?
You can call me Nick if you have trouble with the name. That's
Well, that's
fine with
okay.
me.
I'll do it.
I have 3 degrees. One is an AA in liberal arts. I have a bachelor's in biochemistry, and I have a bachelor's in business management from California State University at Fullerton. I have the unique distinction of having had my own business, being involved in business all my life, but at the same time involved in city government as a layperson trying to help. I would like to read some of what other people have said about me. Amgen wrote to me on May 12th. Their director of logistics, Mr. Bergstrom, said, "Thank you, Mr. Kidwai, for your participation in the Planning Commission meeting on February 14th and the City Council meeting on March 1. We are pleased that you were able to show your support. I would like to draw your attention that there were 200 people at the council meeting, but I was the lone person that chastised the Planning Commission for the roasting of Amgen." Grant Brimhall wrote to me, he's the city manager, December 21st, 93. "Again, Iqbal, thank you for spending the obviously significant amount of time that you do to help our city function better in the interest of all citizens. I have letters from both Bielenson and Siebert thanking me for my involvement. And I have these things out on the counter in the front for you to read. I hope you will pick them up. Those people who are not here, I hope they will try to read the issues so that we can make a difference. The reason I am trying to serve the community is because of the people that have constantly been telling me it's about time that you ran, Iqbal.
Thank you. For Jeanette Scoville, what management steps would you take to solve the issues resulting from limited city revenues?
In my recent meeting with the department heads here at the city, I discovered that the cost of providing the services that we enjoy today is increasing at about $1 million a year. It means that there's going to be some very difficult choices that need to be made by local residents, and there's been a call by staff to bring local residents in to work on this taxing problem. All the issues that you have, all the services you would like to see provided are reliant upon dollars. And of course, I mentioned earlier that I've been out seeking these dollars through grants and working with various departments. Also, I think that a very strong working relationship between our council and our city staff is essential. I spent so much time last year working on our environmental business symposium that they gave me an office at City Hall. And so it's been my pleasure to work intimately with our staff, and I've worked with many, many departments. I've worked on areas of transportation and planning and public works and water. So I think a working relationship is also very important. I believe that stimulating our business community is going to be vital as we move from the dependency that we have had upon dollars that have come through development. And so I have a very strong push towards the business community, and even as a nonprofit have been a member of our chamber and have worked closely with them. So dollars are the issues in providing the services that you all want.
Andy Fox, list the 3 issues in order of importance which compel you to run for the City Council.
Well, first and foremost, my highest priority as your council member will be to ensure that your public safety is maintained, specifically crime. Second, I think we need to address our growth to ensure that we don't become overdeveloped. And third, certainly, is our council decorum. I think my time on the Planning Commission well documents and demonstrates my ability to vote on the issues to ensure that we have the proper development as well as protect our open space. I'm proud to say that as a Planning Commissioner, I had a 100% voting record for public open space and was congratulated by both incumbents as well as my fellow Planning Commissioners in my ability to conduct city meetings. Tonight, I'd like to concentrate on the main issue, and that's crime. Crime affects all of us. It affects our neighborhoods, our schools, our business community, the entire city. It's widespread. And the fact is, the city is not as safe as it was 4 years ago. My first and highest priority will be to ensure that we have the safest community possible. That will include keeping the appropriate amount of police officers on staff, and yes, that will take tough political decisions. I do have specific programs to help fight crime. One would be to draft a very tough graffiti law. The city of Culver City just drafted a law that made it a $50,000 fine, a suspension of your driver's license, and possible jail time for graffiti. Should be no room for defacing other people's property. The city needs to draft and enforce a tougher curfew law. If we have some gangbangers that are hanging around the city with no place to go, the police need to pick them up and take them home.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Lance Winslow, what management steps would you take to solve the issues resulting from limited city revenues?
Well, first of all, I'd run government like a business. And I would increase productivity, catapult cash flow, cut costs, and fix our communication problem. Increasing productivity, well, you got to improve morale. We have a morale problem right now. You need to ask the employees what they need to do their jobs better. You don't need to take away their parking spots. And you got to pay them what they're worth. Catapulting cash flow. Do you realize in our city, our golf course is the number 12th busiest municipal course in the United States? So, if it's a profit revenue generator, maybe we need another one. Our Civic Arts Plaza is a possibility. It can be a profit generator also. We need to work on that. It needs to make a profit. It needs whatever it needs to do it. We need jobs in the surrounding areas. We need to work with other cities to bring industries here. And talk's cheap. We really need to get out there and do it. There are other cities in the counties that are doing that. We need to do that. 40% of our revenue, as I mentioned before, comes from the small business people. And that sales tax revenue we need to have our city services, street sweepers, police, everything. And then we need to cut costs. Those are going to be tough choices. Communications, well, we simply need to get along. And it's not all that hard. We need to network, and the city council needs to know the staff peoples by name, and they need to walk around and talk to them. That's it.
Irv Wasserman also selected the same question. What management steps would you take to solve the issues resulting from limited city revenues?
Glad I got the question because it's a question that I've had to address several times during my business career. As a management executive, I would approach the problem first without accepting that city revenues are limited. My first act would be an in-depth study of the use of available funds. I would then work with the city manager, the finance director, and other department heads to redirect revenues as appropriate. Good senior managers know that studying a proposed budget only supports the assumption that revenues are utilized most efficiently. Thank you.
Chuck Morsa, what conditions would cause you to not support a project that met all of the ordinances, zoning requirements, policies, and guidelines for the city of Thousand Oaks?
I get a minute and a half to answer that?
Sure.
That's great. The answer is none, so let me spend a minute and a half telling you this. You folks are worried about too much growth. It's not going to happen. People are getting older. They're leaving this community. I've been in real estate for 22 years. Lee wants to take credit for 4,000 less houses. The builders aren't stupid. If they'd have built 4,000 more houses, they'd be sitting empty. Dos Vientos, 2,350 homes on a project that was designed for 4,000 will be 10 or 20 years down the road. You see, people aren't coming here like they used to because of gasoline prices and so forth. And I wouldn't really be concerned about growth and oak trees. What we need to be concerned about is our families and what we can do about the theaters that show the filth and garbage. In 1986, myself and a few people grew to 300 and got rid of a pornography group that was making film out in Newbury Park. We still couldn't get the city council and the city manager to get rid of the filthy newspapers that you can find in front of the post offices. And they say it's First Amendment rights. I'll tell you this, if I'm on the council, in 90 days you won't find that garbage in this town.
Marshall Dixon, what unique qualifications do you feel that you have that would make you an effective council member?
Oh, Lord, it's hard to be humble. Let me say that, and I repeat myself, that first of all, I'm a problem solver. I always have been, and I feel that I always will be. A lifetime of business experience and civic activity has given me this expertise. Included among those things are skills as a negotiator, which is very important to being a council member. I feel I have the ability to examine problems from all their perspectives. I think this is important because there are many points of view, as we have seen. I take the analytical approach to solutions. Once we have examined it analytically, then we can move along to an objective decision. And one thing that we do need, and which I have no problem with, is having people on the council who will make decisions. I think we've had enough delegation of authority, enough committees. I think it's time that people on the council who are elected to do so make the decisions and move this city forward. Thank you.
David Hare, list the 3 issues in order of importance which compel you to run for the city council.
Firstly, we must protect our environment. Our environment is the key to our quality of life. It's what attracted us to the Conejo Valley and to the city of Thousand Oaks, and it's what will attract businesses and residents in the future. We also need to promote our economy. We need to form a partnership between the city council and local businesses. Lastly, we must make a more efficient city government. We must know government and think business. By knowing government and thinking business, we will be able to provide money for our schools, money for our police and fire protection in any economic climate. If we do not do these things, we will be at the mercy of the state budget. Thank you.
Bill Williams, what specific plans do you have to stimulate business and economic vitality within the community?
Well, the first thing we need is a city council that can work together to make decisions. If I was chairman of a large company and thinking of relocating to the Thousand Oaks area, I would come down and watch some council meetings, and I would decide not to move here. We also need a city council that can work with the Chamber of Commerce. We don't need city council members railing at the president of our Chamber of Commerce in public. This leaves a very bad impression of the town. We need to lobby for state tax incentives to try and get more businesses to move into the area. We just lost Packard Bell, who just moved out, or is going to move out of Westlake. They got a nice loan from the city of Sacramento of $26 million for an $80 million annual payroll. I think the city needs to look at some of the companies that want to relocate here and work out deals like that with them, so we can get some of these people in here, as long as they're non-polluting companies and are compatible with our lifestyle and what we really want here in town. And the last thing we need to do is remove some of the regulations that hinder businesses and continue to streamline our business application and permit process.
Michael Friedman, what countywide issues impact the city of Thousand Oaks, and how will you deal with them?
Magoo Air Station is an operation that's been in existence since 1940s, and I think that this air station is worth over $1 billion to our county. We need to see a conversion into a commercial center, and we need to work as communities involved, Camarillo, Oxnard, Hueneme, Ventura, to make this a reality and keep it from being mothballed. Four-year colleges, a four-year public college is needed. We do have Moore Park, but it's part of our infrastructure as a county to have our own four-year college. Let me back up a second. Magoo Airport, we're the only county that does not have a major airport serving our citizens. Another issue would be refuge and landfills. We're slowly filling up here. I would not accept any refuge or vote as a city to accept any refuge from any other cities outside of the Ventura County, including some parts of the east part of our county, or west part of our county. Crime is a major issue in the county of Ventura. It's slowly been creeping up. I would support sticker programs that identify you as a Ventura County resident and or a Thousand Oaks resident. Also, I would initiate curfew laws and provide additional programs to get these kids off the street and give them something better to do. Thank you.
Mike Markey, what specific plans do you have to stimulate business and economic vitality within the community?
Well, I think that business and economic vitality is important in Thousand Oaks, and as I said in my opening statement, I think that we need to work on our increment tax dollar. The one thing that makes me stand out from the other candidates is, as I said, is I have solutions to the issues. And one of the issues that we have to look at is our economic base and our job training and our job opportunities. One of the things I will support is a job training center, and the reason I bring that up is because Edison donated a building in South Central LA, and that's a regional job training center. And what we can do with that is take our youth and our not college-bound kids who may either go to one or two places, to jobs or to gangs or crime, get them into the job training center, which will be the government, the chamber, business, and you, the citizens, working together to train people, getting them prepared for jobs and going in. How does that affect our business? Well, businesses like Baxter and Amgem, who may need people to do personal computers in their offices, can set that up in the job training center, hire them in, train them, and then bring them into their workforce so it doesn't interfere with their daily operations. The other thing we can do is take our increment tax dollar, like I explained, and recycle it. I think if we work on those issues, we can keep our city very viable and keep our residents and our businesses coming. Thank you.
Greg Cole, what conditions would cause you to not support a project that met all of the ordinances, zoning requirements, policies, and guidelines of the City of Thousand Oaks?
As a former planning commissioner for the City of Thousand Oaks, I've had the opportunity for 3 years to vote on issues such as those. Also, as an elected community college trustee, I've had the opportunity to vote on policy issues regarding the running of our 3 colleges, Ventura, Moore Park,